countdown to the last comic shop in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Mishu and diddle doo diddle I. What for the daddy-o? What for the daddy-o? It's the Last Comic Shop podcast. Nobody's gonna say, hey, happy Patty's Day? Nobody's gonna say anything? I just sang Whiskey in the Jar for all you sons of...
Too much green beer. Too much green beer.
It's too much green beer indeed. Too much green everything.
What are you talking about? It's the one time of the year where it's okay to put green food coloring in everything. Just everything.
I thought you were going to say it's the one time of year it's okay to be Irish.
Except the Scottish. We're still Scottish.
And those are the most Eddie Larson. Welcome to our St. Patty's Day extravaganza here on the Last Comic Shop. I'm joined by Jay Scott and Chad Smith, as well as the wonderful George from Shortbox Summary, also a writer on AIPT.
That's new, but yeah, that's true. Yeah.
That's absolutely right. So make sure that you're also checking him out on that fantastic website so that you can read some of his comic book reviews for shows. And we've got a comic book review for all of you here on St. Patty's Day. It is the third week of the Merry Marvel March Society. And this week, it's my pick for the Marvel book this month. And it is Earth X, moving on from Kingdom Come into another book that's similar to Kingdom Come, but was at Marvel. And
welcome to Last Comic Shop X.
Hopefully it will be better received than our last conversation of the Kingdom Come. This text chain is still going on between Chad and I. Again, somehow I became the champion of that book, despite the fact that it's okay. It's just...
That's exactly my point. I don't know why.
It's an episode.
Just okay.
Go back and listen to that if you want to listen to that. We're doing Earth X this week. And as a result of having George on our podcast, he likes to fill us in on the pop culture and other things that were going on at the same time the comic book that we're reviewing was out on newsstands or in comic book shops or whatever it is. I don't know. Were comic books still at newsstands in 1999?
Yeah, because I was still buying them at Rite Aid and stuff.
Okay.
And still seeing them at random on spinner racks at airports, right? Still at Hudson News and stuff like that.
Do they still sell comics at airports? That's the only place that still sells magazines is Hudson News.
That's a good point. That's a good point, yeah.
Hey, I do recall them having, back when the Superman movie dropped last year, they had a Superman, it was almost like a magazine version of a comic book, but it was in Hudson News. So
they had that at Walmart too. They had that in a Fantastic Four one where it was a 5-pack of comics basically just kind of bundled together and sold for, I want to say $10, but it might have been more expensive than that. But comics are getting a little out of hand.
It's true. One thing that's not getting out of hand is those pop culture references. So George, fill us in. What are we doing first here?
Let's start with the box office, just because I think it's kind of a lamer thing than what was going on in comics. I know we said we would just talk about top 5, but I assume you guys are big Star Trek heads. Number 14 at the box office in January 1999 when issue 0 of Earth X was released. Star Trek Insurrection, 13 million gross to date.
Is that the Benedict Cabbage Patch one?
No, that's the last of the original. It's the only Star Trek movie to not make its money back. It's the only bomb of...
Is that with the Romulans? Was there Romulans?
No, I take that back. It's the 9th one. It's the one where F. Murray Abraham found the Fountain of Youth, but they have to do it by taking over a planet where the Fountain of Youth is and killing the indigenous there. And the Starfleet has kind of partnered with them, and so Captain Picard and his crew end up going against Starfleet because it's against the Prime Directive and all this other stuff. And
that didn't make its money back?
No, it did. I take that back. It did make its money back. The next one, the last Star Trek of the original run, which had a Romulan played by the guy who did Bane.
Oh, Thomas Hardy?
Yes, Thomas Hardy played.
Wow,
played
really?
Captain.
He was in Nemesis.
Yes.
Goodness.
When was First Contact?
Years before that made a lot of money.
Oh yeah,
that one ripped. That one was really good. Yeah. Well, that was just for JA. At number 5, fortunately, passed away close to our recording this, Varsity Blues.
Oh, I don't want your life.
Too soon.
Incredible.
Too soon.
Yeah.
Oh,
R.I.P. Dawson Leary.
Yeah, incredible high school football movie starring James Vanderbeek and Paul Walker and
that big guy with the pig.
that's right. None of them belonged in high school. They were like in their mid-20s.
Yeah, but Ali Larder was just so hot to 10-year-old George when this movie came out. Like, maybe the most beautiful person I'd ever seen in my entire life at that point.
And that gave us Captain America in a whipped cream bikini later on.
It sure did, yeah. Number 4, You've Got Mail, starring Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan.
Wow.
I wanted it to be you. I wanted it so badly. That's still to this day. Oh, it gets me every single time.
Whenever I think of that movie, my mind instantly goes to those AOL discs that they used to send out to get
Absolutely.
you like 15 minutes online or whatever you got.
And that was still the heyday when that movie came out. I can't believe that. Oh, that seems like so long ago.
That movie's sneaky in terms of stars too. It's got Dabney Coleman in it. It's got Dave Chappelle in it. Like it's got some interesting people other than just the Tom Hanks and the Meg Ryans.
Which do you like more, though, that or Sleepless in Seattle?
You Got Mail.
Actually, there's a third one.
Actually, Joe versus Volcano.
Yeah.
Joe versus the Volcano. May you live to be 1,000 years old. I still say that whenever somebody makes me happy. When he buys
I work in advertising and understand his misery in that movie, so that's why I'm a big fan.
That's the best one. That's the best one.
I should rewatch You've Got Mail, but I think I would give it up for Sleepless in Seattle. I love that movie.
See the original. It's better.
There was an original Sleepless in Seattle?
No,
the original You've Got Mail. Shop around the corner.
Yes, with Jimmy Stewart and somebody else.
All right, number 3, box office 1999, A Civil Action, which is that John Travolta, very intense legal thriller where this lawyer is about to bankrupt his firm and ruin his career, but he takes on a case about these companies that have been poisoning water and giving kids leukemia.
Is this the reverse Aaron Brockovich?
Or is it about like?
I think he's suing the companies, but it is very Aaron Brockovich. It is very like this was like peak Grisham adaptations, right? Because this is like right after like Pelican Brief and Rainmaker, right?
A Time to Kill.
Was that illegal?
Yeah, Matthew McConaughey's a lawyer in that.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Okay, sorry. I was thinking of A View to Kill. I'm like,
No.
I thought that was different, but I appreciate your gusto. Number 2 of the box office, a movie called Stepmom, which it's about a mother who's dying. She has to deal with like her ex-husband's new lover who is going to be her kid's stepmom when she's gone.
Yeah. It's got Susan Sarandon and Julia Roberts. My wife puts that on whenever she just wants to have a good sulk and sigh and cry. It's a sad girl movie for her. She throws on Stepmom and she can't help but like have a cathartic release.
I am replaceable. Yeah, that's right. Life sucks. Everything is terrible. Damn it. One day I'm Susan Sarandon. The next day I'm Julia Roberts. What the hell was it all about?
I don't know. It's one of the movies. It's on her list. That one and 28 Dresses.
28 Dresses is a gem.
Yeah, fantastic. Number
that
1 at the
Heigl might be a terrible person, but that's a great movie. Sorry.
It is a fantastic movie. Number 1 at the box office, Patch Adams.
Is that the one?
It's Robin Williams is the doctor. He puts the noses on people. Is
he actual doctor in that, or is he like a mental patient that's pretending to be a doctor? Or
I'm pretty sure he's a real doctor. Yeah,
but based on a real person.
Yeah, it's real, like, laughter is the best medicine type stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was another movie where he was pretending to be somebody, and then, like, they just
That's what actors do. They always pretend to be somebody.
Let's get to comics, George. That's what we do on this program. We don't do movies, we do comics. What were the top comics of this same time period?
So I'm going to talk about some not top comics, but in my defense, January 1999, really cool stuff happened. This is peak No Man's Land. So, like, Batman is dealing with a giant earthquake that has destroyed Gotham, just for context. This is also when League of Extraordinary Gentlemen issue number 1 came out.
Ooh.
It was 65th best-selling book. Young Justice had just hit issue 6, so it is brand new as a concept. Hulk 474, which I think is finally the end of, oh my God, what's his name? The guy who wrote it forever.
Peter David. That was actually 66, I want to say, or 67.
But very close to the end of Peter David's run. Black Panther issue 5, part of like the Marvel Knights relaunch, reboot. Number 17, Avengers Forever issue 4, which feels like an appropriate book to talk about on the day talking about Earth X. It feels like those two are kind of in conversation, at least from my perspective, so I'll jump into that more. Daredevil issue 5 of the Kevin Smith, Joe Quesada era was the number 12 selling book, but we don't care about that. We don't care about JLA issue 27 being like peak Grant Morrison on the book.
I care about all these things.
No, you told me you just wanted to do the top 5.
That's true, but are we at the top 5 yet? Hold on, because there's like a lot of good books out there. I like Avengers Forever, but let's get to that top 5. What's in that?
We're about to be. I just saw Fathom is also in the top 10, and I just love Michael Turner so much. Yeah, I love that guy. Okay, sorry, top 5. The 5th best-selling book for January 1999 is actually the book we're talking about. It is Earth X issue number 0.
Okay.
Now, did issue 0 come out before issue 1, or did it come out afterwards, like the Valiant books?
I believe it came out first.
So then why didn't they just make it issue 1? And make issue 1 the issue 0?
I had that same problem.
Then it goes to 11, right?
That same issue.
People loved zeros. Yeah, zeros were very hip.
But just make 0 the 1. If you make 0 the 1, then
you're the Valiant guy. Like, why do you have a problem with this?
Listen. Because
then they also had issue X, which is actually issue 10 in Roman, but they had an issue 10, so then issue X makes no sense either. Don't get me started on this whole numbering thing.
But you know what issue you're forgetting? The problem is not the 0 that came out first.
Yes.
Earth X 1/2 that came out between issues 7 and 8.
Don't tell me they had a stupid.
Listen, I always looked at the issue zeros as 0 is the same as O, and O is what Origin starts with, so it's the Origin issue. Like, that's all. That's the way I looked at it. I was like, the 0 is the Origin issue or the O issue. Oh, did you give him the O face?
Oh my.
You think about that every time you see an issue 0?
Yeah, the Origin. Oh,
so you go straight to American Pie. That's
no. O-Face was Office Space.
Yes.
Oh, you're right. Sorry, Office Space. Yeah.
Which also starts with O.
I think also came out in 1999. Yeah.
There you go. What was number 4, George?
Number 4 was Spawn issue number 82.
Shrugs.
Yeah.
No one could ever know what happened in that comic because Spawn was done after like 20.
Were we into the Greg Capullo era? Was that Greg Capullo or was that long?
Were they still doing the countdown clock?
Nobody cares.
I tried to read the first issues of Spawn when you guys did like your origins. I really couldn't do it. I felt like a book beat me. Issue number 3, best-selling issue for January 99, X-Men Magneto War, which was a one-shot that kicked off a crossover event. And speaking of which, number 2 selling book was X-Men 86, which was part of X-Men Magneto War. And issue number 1, best-selling book of the month, was X-Men 366, which was another part of X-Men Magneto War.
Why did I not hear of this X-Men Magneto War? What happens in that?
Once again, nobody knows because this is the time period where we were all fed up with comics.
Also, the time period when we were all in college.
Yep, we couldn't afford comic books.
Because girls spending it on
and beer
alcohol
were more important.
I think it's when Magneto had long hair, though.
He always had. Didn't he have long hair the entire time he was in the 90s? Like,
no, but when he had like sick long hair and like looked like he was part of like the fucking Cheyenne Sioux or something, like he looked like
like
a
Joseph.
Jewish person who survived the Holocaust.
Was his hair longer than Medusa's eyelashes in Earth X?
Nothing's that long.
Okay, so the Magneto War was a 5-issue series that ran with the one-shot aforementioned, also Uncanny X-Men 366, X-Men 86, Uncanny X-Men 367, and X-Men 87. It was also put out in a trade. Essentially, Magneto unleashes an electromagnetic pulse and then demands that the UN cede land for a mutant sanctuary.
Okay, so it's kind of like Trial of Magneto Part 2?
Yeah, he does something dastardly and then says, please give us something because I did something dastardly, as opposed to please give us something or I'll do something dastardly. In the end of the day, is peak Magneto. He's just trying to get some lovin' for his mutant kind. I think I kind of back Magneto on this one.
Speaking of lovin', by the way, for somebody like Magneto, it's actually surprising that he pulls as much tail as he does in the Marvel Universe. Boy, howdy, that guy has a lot of sex. Like a lot!
Dude, his power is magnetic attraction.
Yes, I was just about to say he is the master of magnetism.
And everybody! He's got that gray hair, he's that silver fox. I guess the ladies love him. In any case, one thing that we love is talking about more comic books. Thanks so much to George for giving us the movies and the comic books that came out about the same time as Earth X issue 0. And we'll be right back with the rest of Earth X, plus the origin issue, that's right, the 0, right after this.
BCWSupplies.com has everything a comic collector could need. Boards, bags, long boxes, and so much else for our ever so increasing collections. And you can save 10% on your total order by using promo code LCSPOD at checkout. Not only does this take 10% off BCW Supplies' already low prices, but it supports my favorite podcast, The Last Comic Shop. So get all your collecting gear at BCWSupplies.com and save 10% on your order with promo code LCSPOD at checkout. That's LCSPOD at checkout. Happy hunting!
When you're done listening to this podcast, check out mine. My name is Dave, and I'm the host of Beer in Front. My podcast is just enjoying the beer that's in front of you. Sometimes we forget about a classic beer while we focus on the new trendy thing. What I try to do each week is to enjoy an old school classic or have a beer that has potential to be a classic. I'll also talk about events of the day, I'll add my spin to things, and each week there are people that really annoy me, and I'll call them out as the jag-off of the week. That's Beer in Front, available wherever you listen to podcasts.
All right, we are back, and we're going to be talking about what used to be real Marvel history, but now has kind of been retconned to be not, but maybe yes. I don't know. It's writers trying to be very highfalutin with the creation of the Marvel Universe in Earth X, brought to you by BCWSupplies.com, where you can get all your comic book supply needs, be they boards, bags, boxes, giant plastic things to keep other giant plastic things in. Also, baseball cards and other paraphernalia. If you use the promo code LCSPOD at checkout, you will save 10% on your order, and some of that, a little fraction, a token, gets kicked back to us at the shop to help us keep this program going and talking about Earth X and the 0 issue and the X issue and this miniseries, maxi series. I guess it's even more than a maxi series.
It had sequels too.
Oh yeah, don't
Universe X and yes, Paradise X and
because let's go back to that. Well, that's what that is. Marvel, all about making the money. I guess that's what you do in commerce. You find something that people like, then you go back to it and beat it. Dead horse. Or beat the dead horse.
Sounds like
Either
you beat
way.
it with a dead horse, okay.
Yes, if you're beating it with the dead horse, then it's even worse, I guess. I don't know. Chad, who did this 14-issue opus?
Okay, so it has story and character designs by Alex Ross, but the story and script was written by Jim Kruger. The art, primarily, you've got some John Paul Leone with an assist from Alex Ross in issue number 10. Inkers were Bill Reinhold, with Alex Ross assisting on a couple of issues, and John Paul Leone assisting from time to time. Colorists include Matt Hollingsworth for issues 0 through 10, Melissa Edwards for issues 11 through 12 and X, and James Sinclair on issues 4 and 8.
So, Andrew, without saying Machine Man's name 30 times, what happened?
X-51. They don't even call him Machine Man. They just call him X-51, or Watcher calls him, "Hey guy, Don't be so mad that I took your face. Watcher is such a dick in this. Oh my God. He is an insufferable dickhead in this. And it's great. It's great. But the 10-cent synopsis is as follows. For those folks that really like that movie, The Eternals, remember that one part of The Eternals where like the entire Earth was actually a celestial that was like a baby? That actually has its origins in this particular series, where for the first time ever, that's what they say. They're like, Earth is actually a baby celestial, or at least the Earth was impregnated with a baby celestial. And
a celestial seed was planted here, you're saying?
Indeed. And as a result of that seed being planted here, everybody that lives on the planet Earth has that celestial seed. That's why folks in the Marvel 616 have superpowers. Otherwise, they would die from gamma bomb explosions, or going out into space and being bombarded with composite rays, or being bitten by radioactive spiders. But no, that activates their celestial seed and they get superpowers from there. Additionally, that's why there are mutants, and that's why there are Inhumans and Deviants and the Eternals. And this has been all going on because, again, the Celestials wanted to protect their baby. The 616 is the antibodies to protect the Earth from things like the Kree and the Skrulls and Galactus and all these other things that might come and try to kill this baby before it's born. At some point, Black Bolt decides that he's going to make sure that everybody has superpowers, and he releases the Terrigen Mists, which is something that eventually also happened in the Marvel Universe. Except this time, everybody gets superpowers, including this one kid that can take over all the minds of everybody, and his name's the Skull, and there's Captain America who fights against the Skull. But really, it's Reed Richards putting on some Doctor Doom armor and saying, like, okay, how can I get my kid to become Galactus and kill these Celestials? And that's the story. I think I gave the entire plot away, but that's pretty much it. There's a lot that goes on in these 14 issues, but in a nutshell, the 616, they're antibodies. They didn't like it because it took away their free will, and they were like, screw that. We're more than this, and it's our destiny to be whatever we want. And there you go.
It's amazing how quickly you explain the story, because I feel like this took me hours and hours to read. I thought this was such a slow burn, and what it really was the first 2 pages of every issue was just the most, not even like verbose, but just like the most dense but basic conversation between X-51 and the Watcher, where like it wasn't like hard to read, wasn't like they were using complicated words or anything. It just was so much. And then the end of every issue just being like, well, we clearly ran out of budget for JPL, so like let's just include what some of the conversations we wanted to cut for time as prose. And it was just like, holy shoot, and man, that to me, so much.
That to me, I blame on Watchmen, because like if you wanted to be a prestige book in the 90s, you had to have a couple of pages of back matter where people just have to sit down and read a novel. Not a prestige book if you don't have that. Also, it's a lot cheaper than adding 20 pages of drawings.
And paying an artist, yeah.
Yeah, and you guys know how I feel about that Alex Ross guy. Here he is trying to be all pretentiously, I'm going to write a book that's the Marvel Watchmen. I'm going to put that word there near the end. Ha ha ha, look how clever I am.
I kind of like those last pages, though, because that's where we got at least the sketches for some of the cool costumes. Yeah. And I will say that I was a huge fan of a lot of the reimaginings of all the Marvel characters. Again, this was supposed to be the future of the 616. You know, eventually they retconned that this was some alternate universe or whatever, Earth X or whatever, but it was supposed to be like what would happen in the future of the 616 if eventually, you know, the Terrigen Mists came and everybody got superpowers. But I really liked those character designs. I liked the transparent Machine Man. I thought that was cool.
That was super cool. Yeah.
I liked Reed Richards putting on the Doctor Doom armor, and I actually liked how they explained why he would do that. In the lead up to that, the rest of the Fantastic Four dies, and the guilt eats away at him. So he thinks he's the bad guy. So what would he do? He would become the bad guy. He would put on his former nemesis's armor and kind of live his penance in that armor. I thought that was neat. The only costume I didn't like was Spider-Man being fat. I didn't like Peter Parker being a porker. having too many sandwiches.
Was you bitten by a radioactive donut?
Oh, spare tire.
Spare tire. God, that was
spare tire.
It was
Yes.
so mean. I was like, damn, Ben. Didn't know you had that in you.
There you go. Now I want to chime in and take another shot at Alex Ross, just because it's a thing I like to do. So Alex Ross, known for his beautiful gouache paintings. The sad irony is this book, based on these ideas from Alex Ross, definitely tells way more than it shows. Like, it's all exposition. They're all just explaining what's happened. And there are a lot of ideas here, but they just explain them instead of letting some of those things play out.
Yeah, that is true, Chad. Like, there is a lot. I agree with you. I agree with George. There's a lot in these 14 issues. Actually, more than there needs to be.
Yeah, the first 2 pages and the last 3 pages of each issue, that's where like you had to really focus, because that's the bulk of and then the action in the middle of each issue really comes down to somebody transported from X to Y and then said hello and we need to go somewhere else, and then they went somewhere else and tried to fight the Red Skull, who's wearing a Punisher shirt, is a Nazi youth.
Yeah, that tracks. Again,
that's the next logical step. I agree on that one.
The Son of Comet Man, by the way, a 6-issue miniseries that was released around 1986, written by Lost in Space star Bill Mooney. That's a little obscure fact.
A couple killer covers from Bill Sienkiewicz.
There you go.
Those.
Again, despite there being a lot of things I didn't like about this book, there was actually also a lot of things that I did like. Again, the character designs. Jim Kruger is an interesting writer. The first time I ever read any Jim Kruger was actually on his Avengers Invaders storyline that happened post-Civil War, where basically a bunch of Avengers go back in time to meet the invaders in World War II, and they have to pretend to be certain Golden Age characters, like Black Widow takes on some costume, and there's a lot of exposition there and a lot of time traveling shenanigans, and you have to pay really close attention to the plot like you do in Earth X. But I feel like it's still neat ideas. And eventually a lot of these ideas would be like grabbed by either the MCU or Marvel nowadays and been like, no, dude, that's part of our story now.
That's what I wanted to say, was like, I can't believe how much like either shot calling that this did, or just how much Marvel editorial in 2007 just straight up cribbed from this book. Because like Norman Osborn being president, like that's not that different than him being head of S.H.I.E.L.D., right? Like that's like functionally the same, like just him in like a national leadership position. But just little things like that you just see it all throughout the book. I'm just like, oh man, this book is actually like pretty bold. This was like what was ripped off for the next 10 years. I was very impressed.
Except for Logan being like a fat guy on the couch, just want to do it.
That part bummed me the hell out. Yeah, that sucks.
Though I did like the Byrne reveal that he thought he was living with Jean Grey the whole time, and it was Madeline Pryor.
That's true. By the way, speaking of the Logan character, eventually that broke this whole X franchise. Eventually, I think they got to either Paradise X or whatever, and they wanted retcon something that happened in Earth X, and the editors were like, no, we're not going to do that, and then just this whole series ended. But it was all because they wanted to retcon what happened with Wolverine. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Fat Wolverine did not play well in the sticks.
Fat Spider-Man went over well. Dad bod Spider-Man.
It didn't play with me. That was one of the characters that I was hoping they would do a little bit more with. I like the fact that Mayday Parker shows up. She's got the Venom symbiote, which again, another Parker having a Venom symbiote. That's great. That there were neat ideas here, like the army of clay heroes that Alicia Masters makes, and then they're the ones that can stand up against the Skull because they don't have souls or whatever to take over, or minds to take over. They're just the pure versions of the heroes. The fact that they make Thor a female years before they made Thor a female, sure, it was in that one What If story with Jane Foster, but up until that point they didn't have female Thor. The fact that Loki ends up being one of the heroes and realizing that, like, hey, I'm only a bad guy because people made me out to be a bad guy. I'm the teller of tales.
What did you think of that whole Asgardian thing, that the Asgardians are just aliens that without the human race to give them
believe in them, yeah,
they will cease to exist bit? I think they're travelers. Wouldn't they just go travel somewhere else and find another world and become them?
It's the same as the Impossible Man. It's the same as the Skrulls. Again, they explain that pretty well. That was another great thing. Shia LaBeouf and Silver Surfer, and that the fact that Galactus was going around to the planets that had the celestial seeds and eating those ones specifically. He wasn't just eating planets randomly. He was eating the ones that had the celestial seeds because his job was to make sure that the celestials' threat didn't become too big for the universe. That was great. So yeah, the fact that all these people would eventually, evolve to the point where they're just shapeshifters and be able to do whatever they want, that was neat. Made sense. Go ahead.
But the retcon with the Silver Surfer showing up early to let people know so they can get off the planet, that just made it even worse because none of those people ever made it off those planets. The Silver Surfer just showed up and was like, sorry, guys, you're screwed. And then all those people got eaten.
I thought you liked this, Chad. Did you? I thought you did. I mean, you in the pregame, you said that this wasn't bad.
Yeah.
Well, what did you like about it?
Oh, no. I definitely enjoyed the John Paul Leone of it. His art was really fun, and it had some of those things that oftentimes I'm missing in those Alex Ross stories. Don't put this on the internet. I actually like the character designs. I thought some of them were pretty cool. And as opposed to some other books that I'm not going to bring up again and beat a dead horse, I thought this played with the history of the Marvel Universe and made sense of a lot of things. They took a lot of disparate threads, and sure, they were playing with them by their own rules, but I liked the take on this is what happens to the Marvel Universe. This is how everything fits in and the way they slotted all the pieces into place. And like I said, some of it I thought was a little bit hokey, like Madeline Pryor just pretending to be Jean. Like, what? No. No. And then the very end, when they take the best character in the Marvel Universe and turn him into a jackass, literally. Not cool, Alex Ross.
I love that.
Cool.
I love J. Jonah. This is my dad. The one with the donkey face. No, when they went to Wakanda and all the people were turning into animals, and Black Panther was actually
with that mustache. That's so bad.
They even put Black Panther with Storm. That is again eventually another. This book has just all these ideas that, to George's point, they just cribbed. And they just used in the Marvel Universe for reals later on.
Another one I totally forgot about is the ending of this book, which I don't want to spoil, even though you alluded to. I'm like, oh, that feels kind of Hickman-y, actually, in hindsight, now that we're talking about it. Not one-to-one, but like really close, where I was just like, I can't believe Hickman thought of this. And I'm like, I guess he just kind of read it somewhere.
Well, the one question I had is for J.A., because J.A. is traditionally our cosmic guy, right? There's a lot of cosmic things going on in this particular series. A lot of cosmic characters, a lot of cosmic concepts. Did it play well to you?
Yeah, you say there was a lot, but it was the Watcher being a dick, which, true to form, I think the Watcher's always been a dick. The whole I watch and I don't get involved. Finally, somebody called him out on what that really is, you can't just not get involved. You can't watch and say you're above it all. That you're making a choice by doing that. You actually are doing something by doing nothing. So good on him. But then it was just Celestials and Galactus. We didn't have eternity. We didn't have love and hate or chaos or the in-betweener. I mean, there's the whole breadth of the cosmic universe didn't really get involved. With the exception of Marvel, you don't really have the Krees or the Skrulls show up at all. They're just alluded to all the time. They're always talked about. Again, going back to that tons of exposition at the beginning and ending of each issue. No Guardians. So right. For as cosmic as it was very centered on Earth. Go figure, the title of the series is Earth X.
Another thing they ripped off, Doctor Strange dying and Clea becoming Sorcerer Supreme. Look at that.
Yeah. And Hulk and Banner becoming two separate beings.
That's a good one.
And again, that's another thing this was good R&D for the rest of Marvel that would eventually come over the next couple of decades. And to be blunt, I'm coming to the defense of this book in terms of the exposition. There was actually a lot going on in this book. Again, my 10-cent synopsis was small, but there was a lot going on. I'm surprised, actually, that they were able to tell this story in 14 issues. This was a book that probably could have been like 25 to like 50 issues long.
That's why they had all that writing in the back, so they didn't have to tell it in 25 issues and spend the money on the artists. They could just do it in a bunch of exposition text dumps.
Well, that, and there's a whole bunch of like one-shots and supplemental stuff, right? Like I was reading about this, and I guess this whole thing started just as Alex Ross being approached by Wizard magazine about like what the future of the Marvel universe would look like, right? And then it just kind of like spread from there and just went from like a hypothetical commission the magazine did to be like, hold on, there's must be something really here. And it became like a franchise. Like I always talk about how there's certain books that just like looked important when I like didn't know anything about comics. And I'd go to like Borders or B. Dalton or other regional bookstores. And I just like look on the shelf and like Crisis on Infinite Earths looked important because it was so much bigger than the other trade paperbacks. Marvel Superhero Secret Wars looked so important because it was so much bigger. Earth X was one of those books that I thought just seemed more important because of its size in context with the other trade paperbacks. And god damn, dude, this book is a lot. And you're right, Andy. Like, it probably could have been 50 issues. Like, they packed so much into it. But I think it actually sticks the landing. Like, as frustrated as I was reading this book, I think it accomplishes its mission.
And
what was its mission?
Entertainment, J.A. Come on. What are you supposed to do with any? Tell an interesting story.
I don't know. I don't mean to be flippant, but some of it is, I look at this and, you know, going back to what you were saying, George, is like, is it one of those instances where let's do all this stuff because we know it'll look like self-important and we'll add all these ingredients in because we are making a quote-unquote important book, as opposed to just doing a really good book and then it becomes important? I feel like I'm being manipulated a bit.
Sure.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. And I think the in my head, it's the pretentiousness level where it's like, yes, we're making this artistic, but as much as I want to dog on this, as much as I want to, be against it. And even like I read the first issue and it took so long to read the first issue. Like, oh, this is going to take forever. This is 400 some pages. But I enjoyed that first issue. I didn't hate any of it as I'm going through. I thought the story was compelling. I thought, all the players did their jobs well. And while it is kind of frustrating knowing they set out to be like, no, we're going to do all these pretentious things to make this, a book that everyone's going to have to read. But they still made an entertaining comic that I was happy to sit down and spend time with.
Well, part of what I think made it really pretentious was the beginning, like the first 2 pages of each issue, where it was the Watcher like yelling at X-51 or Machine Band, whichever you want to call him. And then like the reason he did that is like he was trying to like beat subjectivity out of this character and just make it objectivity. And like that I thought was so funny. That was just like telling this person who like, no, just look at it. Don't care about it. Like there is no good. There is no evil. There is no love. There is no hate. All of this is nothing. None of this actually matters. What matters is observing the thing. And so I read that as like telling the comic book fan, yeah, man, like you're obsessing over this stuff way too much. Like you just got to like look at the story and just take the story for what it is. And then it turns out the Watcher was a piece of shit the entire time. And I'm like, oh, they're saying that that's wrong, that you're supposed to be subjective, that you're supposed to do all this. So I'm flipping the pretentious argument where like it felt pretentious at first, where it was telling you to remove yourself from art entirely. And then at the end, they're like, of course that's what matters. Like it has to be important. It has to matter to care. And then that's why I'm like, oh, this is great. And then I'm scared about a sequel because I've read some of it on Wikipedia. I'm like, oh, it sounds bad. I don't want to.
So this is so pretentious. It pretentioused itself all the way around.
All the way around.
It did.
All the way around.
Oh, well, one thing that we hope we can get all the way around is our rating. We can get our minds around a rating, and that's coming up right after this commercial break. So stay tuned. More Last Comic Shop right after this.
Hey all, I'm Frank. Join me and my friends as we talk about all things geek. Here at Geek Freaks Podcast, we go over the weekly news of everything in geekdom, from movies to TV, to video games, and comic books. We also have a growing YouTube community. Join us as we go over everything in your geek life and share in the love of geekdom.
Hi, this is Pat Morta. Looking for a special opportunity to read to your child? You'll find it at your library this April 30th, when libraries bring books and families together for National El Día de los Niños, El Día de los Libros, Children's Day Book Day. To learn more, please contact your local library or visit ala.org/DIA.
And all right, we're back with more Last Comic Shop, and it is now time for ratings, where we got to get this episode done quick because I've got a lot of green beer to get rid of right about now. But we've got a rating scale from J.A. Scott. He's going to give it to us, and then we're going to get some recommendations. So, J.A., what do you got for us for Earth X?
It's 1 out of 4 watchers. Who watches the Watchers?
I'd rather be the Watchman. Thank you very much. I'm going to go first because it was my pick. I'm not going to say that this wasn't at times a little bit of a slog to get through. I had to read it in chunks throughout the week. I'm really glad that I didn't wait till like the last minute and try to read it all at once because I thought that would have been hellacious. But I parsed it out. I parsed out 2 or 3 issues at a time, and that allowed me to digest what I was reading and, the beginnings and especially the 5 pages of prose at the end of every one. So I just was able to just enjoy it. I like the character designs. I'm a huge, huge fan of the Marvel 616 and the history of the Marvel 616. And I thought this did as good of a job as anybody in taking all of those disparate strands of the Marvel 616 and trying to make sense out of it. Make it into a cohesive story that actually, at the end, you were like, oh, geez, yeah, this is really good. And I wish that the Eternals movie was this. Like, I really do. Like, I wish that the Eternals movie, instead of just giving me the Eternals, which nobody cared about, they gave me the Marvel superheroes. And they were trying to protect the Earth from being awakened from a celestial, which is what happened in Earth X. And again, it was because they gave me characters that I cared about. They gave me pathos from Reed Richards, which again, it's really hard to do Reed Richards as having pathos because it's really easy for him to be just a dick. Right? Like just a know-it-all dick. But the fact that he had pain and guilt over the death of Fantastic Four, that he put on his armor when he goes and sees the Thing, and the Thing gives him a big hug because he hasn't seen him in years. When he sees at the end, Franklin's become Galactus, and he can't tell Franklin that he's Galactus because if he does, this whole house of cards will fall down. He's just got to let Franklin be who he is now. And stop the celestial threat throughout the universe. My goodness, a Reed Richards that just was wonderful to read. And then you counterpoint that with Captain America being the true definition of the American dream, where what's really important is choice and freedom and being able to make mistakes and not being controlled. So many really good beats from this series that I can't not give it a 3. Right? It's not like a 4. It's not like in the upper echelon because it is verbose. There is a lot of stuff, and some of it is superfluous and just doesn't need to be in this book to tell the story. But for the stuff that's there, my goodness. I mean, who else didn't get chills when, the Celestials are about to destroy Earth, and then, on the horizon, Galactus's face, just enormous, just shows up. Son of a bitch, I'm going to eat all of you. I just lost it. I was like, yes, eat them, Galactus. Eat them all. It's a 3. I really loved it. J.A.
Yeah, I mean, for as devil's advocate as I was playing this whole episode, it was an enjoyable read. It was verbose. It was a bit overlong at times. It did sometimes feel like Owatu was beating me over the head with his mutated horses and other things on Earth. But I really enjoyed the art. If this had been an Alex Ross gouache fest, it would have detracted. I thought the art actually elevated the material a bit. Not just the character designs, which I understand was a bit Alex Rossi, but the sketchiness of the art, the rawness of the art, I really enjoyed. The story, at times, you were like, is this the future of Marvel 616, or are we in some alternate dimension? And I stopped caring and just read the story for what it was at the end and enjoyed it for that. To George's point, I'd be interested to see where they went with this because I also read the Wikipedia and it doesn't sound like it was so good. it's one of those things where you capture lightning in a bottle the first time, and then you try to redo it again. And say a 2.75, just while they were interesting appendix in every issue. Why didn't you tell me that in Comic Sense? Why are you giving it to me with some sketches? And then the cynic in me was like, I bet those aren't even real character sketches. I bet he made those sketches for the appendix.
Conspiracy JA.
Conspiracy JA. Yes. So 2.75 for me. It was an enjoyable read, and I did like the cosmic aspects of it, and Galactus showing up and being Franklin and all that, and having the Shala Ball Silver Surfer with Nornrad Silver Surfer at the same time. Two surfers. That was interesting. That was nice.
All right, Chad.
I think I'm going to be an echo chamber here. I think this definitely has its flaws. I think we've talked about a lot of those. At the end of the day, I thought it was a fun alternate universe story. I never considered it Marvel Universe continuity, but then, as you guys alluded to, so many things that are in this book eventually spilled into Marvel continuity proper. They're picking pieces through the first 25, 30 years of Marvel and playing with those to great effect. I liked Luke Cage as the policeman. It was just fun to see these characters running around in these different scenarios. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm going to say 3 out of 4 watchers. Not Watchmen! Because that just pissed me off at the very end.
All right, George, wrap us up.
I'm going to go a little lower than you guys. I'm going to go 2.5 watchers out of 4, which, mathematically, that's 6 1/4 watchers out of 10, if we were to do, an exchange there. So, I do think that this book is above average. I think the story is great. I think the art is fantastic. I think the way it reads is, honestly, its biggest problem, where I don't think it's entertaining. I think once you get past the first 2 pages of each issue, then it's just it's kind of all gas, no brakes. I think those, the internal scenes are actually great. The stuff that's taking place in present tense or is explaining the past, very, very entertaining, very breezy. It's all the other stuff where I'm just dinging it for that, just because I'm like, oh, you guys clearly have the skill to make an exciting, entertaining book. You just dropped it. And it was just you picked a bad conceit to open each issue was my big problem with it. And the one issue where it was less of a problem is issue 13, where they didn't really do it. Issue 0, where they didn't really do it. Those were 2 of my favorite issues. So 2.5 out of 4, above average, entertaining, but not executed in the smoothest way possible.
All right. Well, one thing we hope is super smooth, goes down real nice. Our recommendations. Yes, this is the time of every single show where you can find some other comic books at your local comic book shop, in addition to Earth X, which you can find in single issues and or some trade paperbacks or collections out there. I know for a little while that Shala Ball Silver Surfer issue was going for a little bit of a chunk of change because it was the first appearance of female Silver Surfer, or Shala Ball as the Silver Surfer, right before the Fantastic Four First Steps movie was dropped. But the rest of the issues I think you can find. I found them in buck bins. I have the whole collection. So get out to your local comic book shop and see if you can pick them up. We're going to go ahead and start off with Chad this week. Chad, what do you got for us?
Okay, so the conceit of Earth X is basically Marvel handed Alex Ross the Marvel Universe and said, go to town. And so I'm going to pick a different time where someone gave a creator of the universe and said, have at it. And that is Spider-Man 94, where they take the Spider-Man cartoon, the animated series from the 90s. They hand it to J.M. DeMatteis, and they say, listen, you've got to do the Clone Saga with Ezekiel and Moreland and all that stuff. Everything else is up to you. And so you take all the cloney stuff, you get the Kane, you get the Moreland, but then it's all JMD from there. You get Vermin, you get Craven, you get Man-Thing, you get all the things you'd want from a J.M. DeMatteis Spidey arc, filtered through the Spider-Man 94 ethos. The only drawback is the art from Jim Toe. which is it's fine. It's serviceable art, but his Spider-Man is less Christopher Barnes and more Tom Holland, and that threw me off a little bit. Because no, that's Spider-Man 2009. I don't know when Tom Holland happened, but it's much later. Much later. This is Spider-Man 94. But they had cool covers from some of your favorite artists from the 90s. You get an Eric Larson cover, a Mark Bagley cover in the series. But Spider-Man 94 was a good time.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go next. And my book is another one of those cosmic shenanigans, right? Like Earth X, if you want a series that, boy howdy, takes a long time building up a big, sprawling, cosmic war and world building and universe building even, then look no further than Jim Starlin's Dreadstar series. I finally got the first omnibus of the Dreadstar series, and it's one that I've been wanting to read for a really long time. I've heard really good things about it, so I sat down and I started reading it. And the first chapter of that whole saga of Dreadstar is you've got to read the Metamorphosis Odyssey, which was the original magazine, or I guess it was the precursor to the graphic novel that was released. And it tells the story of an ancient race called the Osirans who, I don't know, they created all the planets. Like they were a master alien race, went out to everybody, taught a lot of other alien races, built a lot of cool artifacts, whatever. They are the old guard. And then there's a warlike race called the Zygotans, and they come in and they're just taking over everything. And there's going to be a big battle between the Osirans and the Zygotans, and the Osirans need an ace up their sleeve. And so they go find this mercenary who's living on one of the planets, and his name is Dreadstar. And Dreadstar has this awesome ancient Osiran sword that makes him immortal. And the Osirans and Dreadstar have to go about destroying the Milky Way in order to save the Milky Way. In any case, there's some other characters that show up there. But if you want to read Dreadstar, you're going to have to start with the Metamorphosis Odyssey. And despite actually, I'm going to say this. There's better Dreadstar that comes along later on in the series, but you have to read this first, or else none of it, the rest of it makes sense. So it's my recommendation that if you're going to read Dreadstar, you have to start with this book. And so you can pick it up in the Dreadstar Omnibus that was put out by Jim Starlin. It's got only that, but it's got the other good stuff that comes later. J.A.
I am going to do one of my things where I just recommend a single issue. And sometimes you can find them in buck bins, and sometimes they might be a little bit more expensive. I think this one's probably about a $5 to $6 book. That is Silver Surfer, Volume 3, number 31, the colossal conclusion to the Kree-Skrull War, featuring the Living Tribunal, the Stranger, Clumsy Foul-Up, everyone's favorite Silver Surfer, Shala Ball shows up. The Skrull Emperor is there in all her glory, having just gotten the shape-shifting powers of the Skrulls back and becoming sort of a messiah to her people. Everyone she touches, she returns their shape-shifting powers, because this was at the time when the Skrulls couldn't change. There's some Elders of the Universe. It is also the last issue that Steve Englehart wrote on the book, because they wouldn't let him play with Thanos, because Jim Starlin was like, no, I've got the Infinity Gauntlet thing coming up, so you're not allowed to use those. And Steve Englehart was like, well, screw you then, I'm not writing on this book anymore. And he left. And then we got Ron Marzin, and him and Ron Lim, the two Rons, ended up writing for the next 50 issues of the Silver Surfer. But it's a great conclusion to the Kree-Skrull War, which just kind of happened in the background across 20 issues of Silver Surfer ongoing. It was one of those things that you used to get a lot in comics, where they would just have something percolating underneath the surface for a while, and then, one issue, it all explodes. And it's a double issue, and it's not a 25 or 50, it's issue 31. I honestly like that about it. It's just some random issue that they decided to make into a big issue.
George, wrap us up. What's your recommendation this week?
My recommendation this week is a book that I read fairly recently. Honestly, I don't think it's that great. I think it's entertaining. I am here to talk about Stars and Stripe, which was the first, I guess, big Jeff Johns series, playing around in the JSA world over at DC. And the reason I'm recommending this book is because it comes out roughly around the same time as Earth X. This comes out July 1999. And so I think it would be interesting to read another book from this year. Obviously, the better book from 1999 for me to recommend is Planetary, but I feel like I've already recommended that book before, so I had to go with something else. But Stars and Stripes focuses on Courtney Whitmore, who is the stepdaughter of Pat Dugan, who was like the Star Spangled Kid, I think, and then has since become Stripesy in like an Iron Man type suit. And Courtney is just this, honestly, like kind of a dickhead teenager. Who it just seems like really ungrateful and mean all the time. But the book is about her sort of becoming a better person and being nicer to her family. And I read it because I just read like the Starman book from 1994, and that book was super duper good. But this book really takes it to the next level in terms of angsty, petulant teenagers. So I recommend just for a comparison piece for 1999 with Earth X.
Is that very similar to the Stargirl series? Eventually, that they would put on DC. They made a television show about.
They did, yeah. It was based off this series, yeah.
Well, there you go. So if you're a big fan of that, that's the original series that you can check out at your local comic book store. And while you're at your local comic book store, make sure that you're listening to the Last Comic Shop podcast. And you can do that by going out to www.lastcomicshoppodcast.com, rate, reviewing, and subscribing so that it then goes on one of those apps that you might have on your phone, such as Apple Podcasts or Spotify or YouTube or wherever you want to subscribe to our show. Make sure that you're checking us out for the rest of March. We've got more of the Merry Marvel March Society, including Chad's pick next week. It is kind of Old Man Daredevil. Daredevil's all the rage with the season 2 of Daredevil Born Again, and we are reading Daredevil Cold Day in Hell, as well as some Punisher Max to wrap up the Merry Marvel March Society, leading up to the debut of Superman and Spider-Man, which will kind of be our cherry on the top of our Merry Marvel March Society for this year. So lots of great stuff coming up over the next couple of weeks. And you can make sure that you don't miss any of it by going out to www.lastcomicshoppodcast.com.
I was just thinking, is the book we're doing the Superman Spider-Man or Spider-Man Superman?
Superman Spider-Man.
So the DC one?
Yes.
We're going to finish Merry Marvel Month with a DC book?
That's true.
Wait a couple of days, the other one will come out.
That comes out 2 weeks later on the 15th. No. Just flip the page. Flip the page. Flip the script.
You know that's gonna eat at him now.
Flip the script, Chad. What do we got?
Well, as you alluded to in our script, as you're rocking out to the Last Comic Shop podcast on those headphones and finding your way to your local comic shop, we have a couple of books you can check out. Those include things like Earth X by Alex Ross, Jim Kruger, John Paul Leon, R.I.P. Or maybe you want to go back and find that Dread Star omnibus by Jim Starlin. Or you're on that Jim Starlin tip and you want to see who came before him on Silver Surfer, you can check out Silver Surfer Volume 331, the capper to the Steve Englehart run, 3 issues before Starlin takes over and gets all Thanos on everybody. Or maybe you want to go back and find Jeff John's Stars and Stripes, which I have not read that book. I know the character is based off his sister.
Yeah.
There's some personal connection there, so that's always something that's been on my list to check out. Or you can't go wrong with Spider-Man by J.M. DeMatteis. So Spider-Man 94, that 5-issue miniseries that just came out last year. I'm sure it's out in trade. That's waiting for you. And more at your local comic shop, so make sure you check those folks out today. And then circle back to www.lastcomicshoppodcast.com, where you can find links to shows, you can find links to socials, Blue Sky, Threads, YouTube. Does that count? I don't know. But then you go back to the base website, and Jay, what else is waiting for folks there?
We always have a link to our merch store where you can check out any number of tote bags, t-shirts, shorts, hats. This week we have a special Earth X edition, which is essentially just the Comic Shop podcast t-shirt, but ripped and worn like a toga, the way that Captain America was running around the whole time.
I was thinking about gouging the Last Comic Shop logo into my forehead and walking around. But boy, I think there'd be a lot of blood loss versus that A. Like there's a lot of the house and the hill.
And you still have some hair up on your head, unlike Captain America, who's totally bald.
There you go. George, what issue of Daredevil does Bullseye carve the logo into his skull? Was that before or after Captain America with the carved in A?
Is that real? Is that in the comics?
Yeah, it might be in the Kevin Smith version.
Is it in the comics before the movie or after the movie?
I believe it predated the movie. Or maybe it was in the run-up to the movie.
Maybe it was 2003, I think, yeah.
It happened, though.
It was a thing. Something else that's a thing is the fact that you can save money on your comic book supplies. George, how can folks do that every single week?
Oh, man. Well, they can go to BCW Supplies and they could use the code LCSPOD to get 10% off their purchase. I do that all the time. I get my bags and boards from BCW, and I get some, I still do a little bit of the collectible card games every once in a while, and I'll get supplies for those. Thank you for the 10% off. I really appreciate it personally. And
Thank you, sir.
If you're listening, you should appreciate it too.
Well, one thing that we always appreciate is George from Shortbox Summary, and he's and where can folks find your epic podcast every single week?
It's there. It's online. It's everywhere but YouTube, honestly. It's on Spotify. I personally use this system called Overcast.
And George, don't hesitate to get them clicks. Where else can people go to find your stuff these days?
Oh, yeah. I started writing for AIPT Comics because they were probably my favorite comic book website. I've done a couple reviews and a couple of features that have been edited and published already.
There you go. So make sure that you're checking out George, not only on his podcast, but his terrific articles. We have those links out on our socials. So you can always go out to Last Comic Shop Podcast, check them out. We're a huge supporter of you, George, and we're a huge supporter of all your thoughts on comic books. So thank you for coming back again this week. Until next week, though, I'm the host with the most, Andy Larson. I was joined by Jay Scott and Chad Smith, as well as the wonderful George from Shortbox Summary. And we hope that you stay safe. Stay green. That's right. Go out there. St. Patty's Day is among us. 2 D's, not 2 T's. That's the way we say it. Go drink some green beer, have some kegs and eggs, eat some corned beef.
How about that planet where all the heroes were dead, but really the only thing that changed was the colors?
No one cares about that shit.
Oh,
Got him!
Comic Shop Podcast was a 2026 Black Angus production.